There's a scene that repeats itself in thousands of offices, classrooms, and conversational circles around the world. You're in a meeting, and someone has just said something so obvious, so elementary, so visibly devoid of depth, that you feel a kind of cognitive vacuum opening up in your chest. The person who said it? They have an IQ that probably surpasses yours. They work at one of the most competitive companies in the country. They've read more books on human behavior than you've had meaningful conversations in your entire life. And yet, there they are, pretending not to understand something that a 10-year-old would figure out in seconds. Even more disturbing, you can see in their eyes that they aren't faking it. They actually seem to believe they've said something profound, that they're contributing wisdom. And the worst part of it all? Most people around the table believe it too. Meanwhile, you feel like you're living in a parallel reality, a dimension where intelligence has been inverted and swapped for something that looks more like a performance than actual thinking. This feeling isn't just your paranoia. It isn't disguised arrogance. It's the recognition of one of the most intriguing phenomena in cognitive psychology: the deliberate and often unconscious choice made by brilliant people to present themselves to the world in a strictly mediocre way. And this isn't a character flaw. It's a sophisticated neurobiological strategy. It's survival. It's politics. It is, in ways you are about to understand, a kind of genius disguised as idiocy. If you've recognized this dynamic in someone you know, if you've done it yourself without exactly understanding why, if you're tired of watching intelligent people act like the universe is a conspiracy against the intellect, subscribe to Mr. Nan right now. What we are going to explore here doesn't show up in pop psychology books. It's not content that productivity influencers talk about. It is the real neuroscience of social calculation, of intentional suppression, and the hidden power of not showing everything you know. Subscribe, because here we don't simplify human complexity. We expand it. Let's get into it. The guilt you carry when observing this in yourself is unjustified. There is a toxic cultural belief that intelligence should be synonymous with full self-exposure, that the smart person is the one who vomits their knowledge at every opportunity, that failing to do so is, somehow, selfishness disguised as false modesty. But the neurobiological reality is radically different. There is a villain in this story, but it isn't you. It is a processing system we all have, but which operates with an almost terrifying sophistication in highly cognitive people. It's called an enhanced theory of mind combined with continuous social risk assessment, meaning your brain is constantly running something like a probabilistic threat calculation. It's assessing, if I say exactly what I'm thinking right now, what is the probability of it harming me, of making me look threatening, of alienating the people around me, of creating a dynamic where I'm perceived as someone arrogant, someone who thinks they're better, someone who needs to be knocked off their pedestal. And in an intelligent person, this calculation is so fast, so automatic, that they don't even consciously realize they're doing it. What they experience is just a slight discomfort at the thought of expressing their complete thought. A feeling that it would be weird, inappropriate, dangerous. So they don't say it. Not only do they not say it, but they recalibrate their response into something that is acceptable, something safe, something mediocre enough not to trigger a threat. This neurological mechanism lives in a brain structure called the anterior cingulate cortex, but it also involves a complex orchestration between your amygdala, your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, and especially the anterior insula, that region that processes social risks with almost supernatural precision. Imagine your brain as a real-time artificial intelligence system, a machine that is constantly processing signals from the social environment. It's analyzing facial expressions, changes in tone of voice, cultural implications, invisible hierarchies. And when intelligence is high, this machine doesn't just process these signals. It extrapolates. It predicts multiple future scenarios in a matter of milliseconds. It sees 7 steps ahead. If I say X, person Y will think Z about me, and that will lead to consequence W 6 months from now. This projection capability is simultaneously one of the most powerful things a human mind can do, and one of the most paralyzing. Because what most highly intelligent people realize is something everyday people simply don't see clearly. The world doesn't reward intelligence. The world rewards conformity to the status quo. The world rewards people who don't threaten other people's egos. Intelligence sets off threat alarms for a lot of folks. It generates envy, resentment, competition. So, in a totally rational, completely justified way, many intelligent people make a simple calculation. They decide it's safer not to show everything they know, that it's more strategic to maintain an image of moderate competence, that it's more advantageous to seem just smart enough to get the job, but not smart enough to intimidate the boss, to seem polite enough to be respected, but not educated enough to come off as pedantic, to seem thoughtful enough to be included, but not thoughtful enough to seem manipulative. This strategy isn't conscious most of the time. It's so refined, so automated, that the person executing it doesn't even realize they're doing it. What they feel is just a vague urge to water things down, an invisible hand that holds them back the exact moment they are about to say something highly insightful. It's as if there's a social self-protection mechanism so sophisticated in your nervous system that you can't even distinguish between what you really think and what you've learned is safe to think. But here is the disturbing question. How much time a day do you spend living in this suppression? How many hours do you spend thinking about something profound, seeing a truth, having a genuine insight, and then intuitively deciding that it would be safer to fake a little ignorance? A neuroscientific analysis suggests that for a person with an IQ over 130, this suppression can take up to 50% of their daily social interaction time. You are spending half of your life in low-power mode. But there is a way to understand this that isn't accusatory. It's not saying you're being fake or that you're self-sabotaging. The truth is much more sophisticated and much more human. You're doing exactly what your brain was optimized to do: survive in a social environment. And in human social environments, being the smartest person in the room often isn't an advantage. It's a disguised disadvantage. The most socially successful people aren't the ones who demonstrate the highest intelligence. They are the ones who can make other people feel smart, who can calibrate their expression of knowledge in a way that complements rather than threatens another person's ego, who can seem genuinely interested in ideas that, intellectually speaking, they processed and discarded a long time ago. This skill is in itself a very high form of intelligence. It's emotional intelligence, social intelligence, political intelligence. And truly intelligent people, when they develop this awareness, often decide to invest in it instead of investing in the pure demonstration of their cognitive capacity. The practical framework here isn't about stopping this altogether. It's not about going out there and starting to show off your full intelligence without a filter and letting the social chips fall where they may. That would just be a different form of self-sabotage. The framework is about understanding exactly when and how to apply suppression strategically, instead of applying it defensively. Most intelligent people who are stuck in this pattern suppress themselves because they're afraid, because they interpret any potential negative reaction as confirmation that they shouldn't have spoken up. But the truth is more nuanced. There are moments when revealing your full intelligence is exactly the right thing to do. There are contexts where people are desperately wanting to be challenged. There are environments where intelligence isn't a threat. It's valuable currency. It's collaboration. So the first step is learning to read the room, learning to pick up on the cues. When you are in an environment with people who are genuinely looking for deep answers, you aren't maximizing safety by pretending not to understand. You are minimizing connection. You are wasting potential. Learning the difference between an environment where suppression is strategic and an environment where it's just fear disguised as wisdom is perhaps the most important skill you can develop. This means starting to observe patterns. It means noticing when someone asks a rhetorical question and when they're actually looking for depth. It means realizing when the group dynamic is built around competition and when it's built around collaboration. It means developing refined social antennas that can pick up on subtle differences in context. An intelligent person who learns to do this doesn't change their fundamental intellectual nature. They just change their application software. They start being selective. They begin contributing depth, exactly in the moments and contexts where depth will generate growth, instead of resentment. They learn that it's not about showing less intelligence. It's about demonstrating intelligence in ways that other people can digest, process, and build upon. It's about translation rather than exposure. But there is an important warning here. There are people who use this framework in the exact opposite way. There are intelligent people who have built their entire identity around the idea that they are special because they understand things other people don't, who have built a sense of meaning around suppression, who define themselves as members of a cognitive elite that is above the common social game. For these people, learning to be strategic instead of defensive won't be easy, because it will mean letting go of a part of their identity that they've carefully constructed. It will mean admitting that their suppression might not have come from genuine humility, but from refined arrogance. And that is a painful truth. But it's an important truth. Because the reality is that if your intelligence isn't doing anything other than making you feel different and isolated, then it's not really that much of an intelligence. True intelligence is applied. It's generous. It is built around the creation of shared value, not the demonstration of superiority masquerading as modesty. The second step is recalibrating your relationship with your own intelligence. Most brilliant people who get stuck in cycles of chronic suppression do so because they have a messed up relationship with their own knowledge. They view it as something that should be protected, preserved, kept private until the perfect moment when someone will finally recognize them. But that's not how knowledge works. Knowledge is like muscle. It grows when it's used. It atrophies when it's hidden. The deepest truth neuroscience reveals about learning is that you only really understand something when you can teach it. Only when you can communicate it in a way that other people can grasp. This means that by suppressing your intelligence, you aren't just making a social calculation. You are literally sabotaging your own understanding. You are developing a form of knowledge that is too shallow to be truly transformative, because it has never been tested through real communication. So start looking for spaces where you can express yourself fully. Look for communities of people who value deep thinking. Look for mentors who understand that being intellectually challenged is a gift, not a threat. And when you find those spaces, let go of the suppression. Tell the truth. Show what you know. Because in that context, it's not arrogance, it's contribution. The third step is learning to scale. Most intelligent people who live in chronic suppression never learn the strategy of gradually increasing complexity. They assume they either express their intelligence completely or fake complete incompetence. But there is a middle path. There's a way to start with a simple observation and then, based on the reaction you get, scale up to something more complex. If you say something a little insightful and the person responds with genuine interest, you can go further with the next thing you say. If you say something a little insightful and the person responds with defensiveness or irritation, you know you need to recalibrate. This social dance is something many intelligent people simply don't learn because they assume everything is all or nothing. But life isn't all or nothing. Life is continuous calibration. But here is where the conversation goes deeper, and where you need to confront a truth nobody wants to say out loud. If you've spent years, maybe decades, living in intellectual suppression, you've probably internalized it so deeply that you've started to believe that this is just the way you are, that you're someone who can't communicate well, that you are socially awkward, that you are different in a way that is fundamentally alienating. But that's not the truth. That is a story your brain developed to make sense of a behavior that is actually strategic. And stories, unlike biological patterns, can be rewritten. You can decide that your intelligence is not a social death sentence, that it's an asset that needs to be managed wisely, not hidden in desperation. That there are places in the world where your full mind is not only allowed, but absolutely necessary. Now, let's talk about the future. It's not a threat. It's a choice. If you keep living for the next few years the way you're living right now, keeping up the automatic suppression, avoiding showing what you know, inhabiting spaces that make you shrink, then 5 years from now, you will have spent approximately 20,000 hours in a state of intellectual underutilization. 20,000 hours where you could have been growing, challenging yourself, being challenged by other equivalent minds. 20,000 hours where you could have been creating, teaching, contributing things you are genuinely capable of contributing. But instead, you'll be in meetings, pretending not to understand, pretending someone had a new idea when you spotted its logical flaw in the very first paragraph. You will be in conversations, smiling while people explore intellectual territory that you have already completely mapped out. You'll be in a permanent state of alienation, not because you are different, but because you chose to be invisible. But there is a different path. If you, starting today, decide that your intelligence deserves expression in the right contexts, that you deserve to be in spaces where your mind is nourished instead of constrained, that you deserve to connect with other people on a level of genuine depth, then 5 years from now, you'll be in a completely different place. You will have developed real intellectual relationships. You will have grown at a pace your mind was always capable of sustaining. You will have contributed things that left real marks. You will have stopped spending energy on suppression and started spending energy on expression. And the difference isn't just psychological, it's neurobiological. It's a proven measurement of well-being, of a sense of agency, of meaning in life. The choice is yours. But if you are reading this, if something in this description resonated with you in a way that left you slightly uncomfortable, then you already know what the answer is. You already know that there is something inside you that deserves more space, that deserves to be seen, that deserves to make an impact. So subscribe to Mr. Nan, because here we understand that high intelligence is not a social curse. It's a potential that needs to be channeled with wisdom. It's a gift that deserves to be shared. It is a responsibility for growth that you carry not just for yourself, but for every person who could be learning from what you know. Subscribe and start giving yourself permission today to be completely visible. Not everywhere, not with everyone, but somewhere, with someone. Start with that, because that is the first crack through which the truth enters. And once it enters, it changes everything. Take the first step right now.